If you love wallpaper but wish that you could customize it, the color, the pattern, the style, we've got the perfect project for you using paint.
I did this project as part of the Weekender Season 7 guest room episode. It's a faux wallpaper technique where we used paint to get the look of fun, colorful wallpaper. This is a great project to really customize the look of your walls on a budget, and it's quite simple too. The first step in the process was to base coat the walls a subtle beige tone so I had a nice neutral palette to work with. Next, it was time to create the faux wallpaper look using a bunch of quarts of paint. You could also use paint samples instead of quarts if your project is smaller scale and you don't need quite as much paint. Color choice is totally a preference here. I opted for bright color pairings in similar shades that I knew the homeowner would love, but you could customize this to your specific style. I wanted the design to look like an artist testing out watercolor brushstrokes with softness and intentional imperfection. To do that, I experimented with a combo of paint, glaze, and water.
In order to figure out the exact right ratio, I did some tests. So I basically started out with pure paint. Then I did half paint, half glaze. Then I did more glaze. Then I did mostly glaze, all the way down till it was basically just like water with paint and then just barely any paint. This kind of shows you how translucent the paint can get, and it also kind of let me know what I didn't want, some drips. I found that adding more glaze and just a little bit of water gave me the translucentness that I wanted, that kind of replicated watercolor without being too drippy. My recipe for this project is a dollop of paint, 4 ounces of glaze, and a dash of water. I also tested out a variety of brushes too. So I ended up deciding to go with a 1-inch brush that I really liked to give me a perfect stroke. But there were so many options I could use. This is actually the fun part for me, figuring out the technique, figuring out the ratio. Have fun with it.
Before we painted on the wall, we used a second sample board to figure out our design and came up with the color block type pattern that was both structured and playful at the same time. Then we just needed to replicate it on the wall. We used a level to draw a line so we could keep our first row straight. That row would act as the baseline to keep all the other rows relatively straight. This pattern and technique is super forgiving. No two strokes are quite the same. Some are a little longer or shorter, some are wider, some skinnier. The beauty in this approach is that it's perfectly imperfect and works well in the grand scheme of an entire wall. Don't overthink it. The variation just adds to the character of the design.
This is a super budget-friendly and completely customizable project to give you the look of wallpaper. I couldn't love how this turned out any more than I do. I hope this inspires you to try DIYing your own painted wallpaper in your home. If you have any questions about this project, drop them below. And before you go, make sure you're subscribed to the Lowe's YouTube channel. You don't want to miss a single thing. Thanks.